it's that time of year again. Christmas. A time for family. A time for joy. A time for Christian rhetoric.
Can you believe it? It's nearly Christmas time. I thought it would be fun for us this year to open up a present a little early. Exactly what I wanted. The greatest Christmas movie of all time. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. I remember when this movie was released in 2014. It holds the record of going to the lowest percentage on Rotten Tomatoes at 0% in under 3 weeks after its release. It was nominated for 6 Golden Raspberries and won 4 of them, including Worst Picture. But both Kirk Cameron and I know the truth about why this movie didn't do so well. It was an atheist conspiracy. It has nothing to do with the overall quality of the film, and that is why I'm so grateful to not only have it, but to be able to discuss its many positive qualities with you. Let's pop this bad boy open. What? Oh, God! Well, I guess we'll give it a try.
Welcome, everyone. I am so glad you're here.
I'm so glad this movie made $2.5 million at the box office.
I love Christmas. I admit it. I love everything about Christmas time. I love the cookies. I love the fire. I love the presents. I love the stockings. I love the tree. I love the fudge. I love the lights. I love the music. I love the carols and the hymns. I love all the kids.
Okay, Kirk, I get it.
It's a great time for growing out the winter beard.
When you're right, you're right.
I think there's something about Christmas that all of us sense deep inside that says something big happened.
Exactly. Christians back in the day used to adopt pagan rituals and traditions and align Christian celebrations with that of the winter solstice and Roman Saturnalia in order to more easily convert their lost pagan brothers.
And I love hot chocolate. There's this one group over here that says, sing your songs and do your stuff at Christmas time, that's fine, but tone it down. Don't sing so loud.
Yeah, don't be obnoxious about what you believe. I can dig that.
And then there's this other group over here who's actually on the inside.
Conspiracy!
Who's telling us everything you're doing, all this stuff, the images, the characters, the traditions, it's all wrong. It has nothing to do with Christmas.
That's probably pretty accurate. We know that these traditions aren't exactly Christian, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that they're bad. There isn't really any harm in knowing the actual history of the traditions, though.
As a matter of fact, you should just take all of that, wrap it up, and throw it out the door because it's all bad.
Well, I don't know if I'd say all that.
What are they going to do next? Tell us hot chocolate's bad for us? The Druids invented it?
Didn't this movie come out around the same time that Christians tried to boycott Starbucks for using red cups?
This bickering is definitely not doing anything good for our kids.
You were the one who brought up the hot chocolate thing.
Maybe somewhere along the way, we lost sight of the real story.
Ah yes, Jesus Christ, the reason for the season. Kirk, I'm not going to hold you back on this one. I know that this is what you do. I'm going to sit back, let you take me on an adventure.
Someone like Santa Claus is actually on the team?
When was Santa off the team?
Stories are tricky things. There was a time when we didn't mind hearing the same stories over and over again. In fact, when we were children, we insisted on hearing them, on an endless loop.
I'm not going to lie to you here, Kirk. You're already boring me to death.
Our heroes got tamed and cut down to more manageable size.
I'm counting on it.
The majority of this movie takes place in this guy's house, but we're not ready to see what made him so excited, so let's play the opening credits for a third time. I cut out the other 2 openings, but this is the 3rd time the opening credits have played. The opening shot of the movie, and nobody thought to move the camera in the middle of the living room. Oh no, please don't do that freeze frame, hey this is me thing.
Hey everybody, that's me. And that's my sister. She's throwing the party.
That's not your sister. Here, let me help you with this one. There we go.
Hey, where's Christian?
So they have a conversation about her husband, Christian, who may not be doing that well, and Cameron is pretty concerned. And then we get this award-winning camera move right here.
Whoa. Hey.
$500,000 budget and they can't afford a gimbal.
And that's Christian,
Christian's expression is your entire audience reaction to this movie.
my brother-in-law. My sister wasn't exaggerating. He is not into Christmas this year.
Kirk talks about how you don't know what's going on in a person's life or in their mind, and then hits us with this really weird pedophilia rape scene. I did not edit this part anyway. This is in the actual movie. What the hell, Kirk?
Commercialism, greed, holiday junk, materialism, paganism, elf worship. The list goes on and on.
You seem to have this already figured out. Are you saying that isn't here during Christmas time? You know, we can agree to disagree. Just please don't show us any more of those really rapey scenes. Alright, fine. Show whatever you want, but it's 2017 now. Let's try to stay away from, like, I don't know, racial stereotypes. Don't include, like, some black guy in there and give him some really generic black guy name.
My man Christian, how you doing?
What's up, DeAndre? How you been?
Oh, no.
Man, I've had my extra Jesus ever since I was baptized for the second time. You gonna give me some?
That's a sin, DeAndre. Everyone knows you can't be baptized twice.
You gotta read your emails. If we don't have crazy shirts.
DeAndre basically just goes on an unscripted tangent doing his best to make jokes. The best part is, the movie itself starts to tune him out.
I don't. What am I gonna do with those?
Christian gets fed up with the Christmas stuff and just wants some time by himself, away from other people. But Kirk has other plans.
Hey.
The movie tries to really extend that runtime here.
I'm driving by a store and
Christian begins to tell Kirk some of his problems with the season. He tells a story of how he saw some brat little girl demanding she gets presents from her mom, and how he feels somewhat guilty for having so much food and material possessions while others have nothing. He babbles on about how kids are spoiled and will play with what you give them for 5 minutes, then they get bored and demand more, and why don't we instead use the money spent on gifts towards hungry kids or digging wells for people who don't have water? Granted, he's not the best at describing how he feels.
oh, look at it. It's winter. Snow falls all over baby Jesus.
But you know, those are actually pretty relevant points. I'm really curious to hear Kirk's response.
You're all wrong.
I said a lot.
Yeah, and it's all wrong.
That's kind of how I expect talking to Kirk Cameron about something spiritual would end up going.
Everything you see inside there, it's all about Christmas. It's all about Jesus. And you're spoiling the whole thing.
So now we're getting to the point of this movie where Kirk wants to explain the truth of Christmas and Christmas traditions. If you have a history book, you might as well just throw them out the window.
You need to think of Herod's soldiers moving through the streets, finding babies and murdering them, and mothers weeping for their children.
After Kirk describes the nativity scene, he brings up his first piece of evidence.
Swaddling cloth. What is this swaddling cloth? Is it just a blanket for a baby?
Yes. He goes on to say that the swaddling cloth is relevant because Jesus was also wrapped in a cloth when he died. But just like death, the cloth could not hold or conquer the risen Jesus.
And because that cloth could not hold him, death still cannot win.
Nobody is arguing against anything you're saying at all, Kirk. Christian is a Christian. One of his main complaints was that Jesus is being pushed aside while materialism and false doctrine take center
Stick
stage.
it somewhere in the corner. Don't really see it, and it's a trinket. This cannot be what God wants.
Kirk continues to explain that Jesus' birth, life, death, and resurrection are the reason for the season, something that we already know.
I gotta admit, I never saw the whole swaddling cloth thing.
It's a cool comparison, but honestly, there's no real substance there. But Christian over here acts like it's the craziest thing he's ever heard in his life.
That stuff blows my mind. Like, that's all I'm saying.
We're then taken back to our token black guy and this other character who are supposed to be the comic relief, but really it's just to run screen time. The guy in the back has a long bit of dialogue, and instead of memorizing it, holds his cup over his mouth and records it post-production. You can actually hear the audio switch from ADR to the movie audio.
Intrigues and nativity scenes to keep taking down.
Oh no, we're good. Delicious though.
You can say what you want about these guys, but they know their target audience.
I saw it on Fox News, so you know it's true.
Back to Kirk and Christian. Christian's next complaint is the Christmas tree.
And that's the big thing I got sitting in my house right now. It's a big Christmas tree.
During the winter solstice, pagans believed the sun god was at his weakest, and the greenery would remind the people that the sun god would grow strong again in return. Christian in the film even knew this.
That's a pagan idol symbol worshiping thingy.
And because Christian is an idiot and didn't know specifically which gods were worshipped, I guess none of it is true.
That's what they would worship the god with.
What gods?
The gods.
Which gods?
The sun god Balder, the Egyptian god Ra, the Scandinavian god Frigga, which is my personal favorite.
Germany is credited with starting the early version of the Christmas tree as we know it today, back in the 16th century. Most early American Christians thought putting trees in your home was weird until early German settlements. And even then, most Americans, not even Christians, but Americans in the 1840s, viewed Christmas trees as pagan symbols. It wasn't until the late 1800s that Christmas trees started to become more popular in Western culture.
Where are Christmas trees in the Bible?
So this portion here is now Kirk's second piece of evidence to show us that fact-based history is false and that Christmas trees were actually inspired by God in the Bible.
You have a weird, obscure verse in Numbers.
You're getting close, Christian, but it's not in Numbers, it's in
Genesis.
Now this next portion is a lot more about the Christian teachings of the relevance of Jesus in our lives. No problem, but I'm looking for the verse he referenced. Kirk makes some weak references to the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Bible, and also the tree of life. If you watch it, it surmounts to, look, there are trees in the Bible.
That's pretty cool.
It's not Christian, it's grasping at straws.
I wasn't looking closely enough.
Hey, I didn't see it either.
I wonder if Kirk ever saw Jeremiah 10. For the practices of the peoples are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nail so that it will not totter. That's literally the Bible saying do not do this because it's pagan. But I know you have a good second point. Go ahead and tell me.
Santa. Rearrange letters. Santa, Satan. Same letters.
Mass bud? Rearrange the letters? And it spells dumbass.
Unless I missed somewhere in the Bible where God sends his only begotten
Elf, reindeer pulling a sleigh.
Tell me right now you're not gonna pull like Zephaniah 4.
If you already know he's pulling random crap out of the Bible to fit a narrative, why are you so mind blown by it every single time?
That's the guy. Santa. Obliterated Jesus!
Sounds like a pretty good point. Christmas is more focused on Santa, commercially anyway.
You better watch out. You better not pout. You better not cry. I'm telling you what.
He's not even singing the song right.
He knows if you've been
Omniscience.
good or bad, so be good for goodness sake.
Ah!
Let me tell you about the real Santa Claus.
This is the best portion of the movie. This last portion and Kirk's final piece of evidence is that Santa was a main contender in protecting the faith as a whole.
There were leaders in the church that had begun to deny the deity of Christ. Nicholas did not take kindly to those who wanted to reduce Jesus to a mere man.
St. Nick went to the bishops who were declaring Jesus was not God and beat the crap out of them. With dubstep. Now the actual point being that St. Nicholas was a protector of Christianity.
Santa is the man.
Well, that may be, but it still doesn't make the focus on Santa over Jesus any less relevant. Back me up on this one, Kirk.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
This is the most bizarre ending to any movie I've ever seen ever. The movie is pretty much over, and the rest is filled with the worst dance number I've ever seen.
Come on, people, let's do this! Let's do this, baby!
Angels we have burned on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains.
If anyone ever tells you that white people can't dance, I want you to show them this.
DeAndre!
Well, that's why I show up for these parties.
My biggest complaint about this movie is not the terrible film quality, the terrible acting, or even the attempts to manipulate the audience. but rather that you can't just will history to be different. Christmas traditions are not biblical. They were taken from pagan traditions, and that's okay. I know that that's not what they mean to you or what they mean to most people, but that is their history. Christ is so powerful and relevant on his own accord that we don't have to make believe some type of connection between the wreath on your door and Jesus. All this does is invalidate Christians for not accepting basic historical truth and thereby making the truth of Jesus just as absurd by extension. And there is a 3-minute end credit scene so they can barely hit that 80-minute mark.
It be the movement, improvement. This ain't the new world order. Flipping in the air just like a quarter. How's your daughter? How's your father? How's your sister? Excuse me, mister. How do you do? You want some coffee? My name is Rafi.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. There, I said both. I said Christmas and Happy Holidays. Is everyone happy? Is that what you want?
Hey, thanks again, Morgan, for doing that opening part for this video.
You know me, I'll do anything for a Twinkie.